So when I was 15 years old, my friend Vic and we wanted to be able to get around and do things, but we didn't have our driver's license. So my friend Vic kind of became friends with this guy who was, I think he was 17 at the time, had his own car, it was an old beat up car. And so we kind of hung around with him, even though I don't think it was like the best friendship in the world with him, but we hung around because he had a car and he could get us places where we want to go. Um, and the tough part about it for me especially was that he was what I would say kind of a reckless driver. He was very always wanted to speed around, wanted to go around curves at, you know, high volume of speed, and it was always made me very nervous. And there was this one night we both told our parents that we really didn't talk about Jimmy. His name was Jimmy. That we were doing much with him. We'd always make excuses we were going over somebody's house or something like that. And my mother definitely was not agreeing to this at all. If we were trying to drive somewhere, she didn't like it. But so anyway, one night we decided going with him to do something, and it got to be kind of a reckless night. He we did this one hill that he hit that he liked to jump off of with his car. He went over the hill and lifted the whole car off the pavement, and it came crashing down. We kind of banged our heads and stuff, but we didn't stop. It wasn't didn't mess anything up. It was fine. So we kept on driving. Well, we went down this road that's kind of a killer road because it has all kinds of turns on it, and he wanted to do it very rapidly. So we went around this corner at way too fast a speed, and he lost control. And we end up going through a wired metal guardrail on the side, which wrapped around the car. Jimmy fell out of the car. Vic and I thought he was dead because we thought he rolled under the car, but he didn't. But we end up he was fine. He ended up going. Police came, got us out, went back to our houses. My mom was not upset about it at all, but after that, I didn't want to ride in Jimmy's car any longer. That it made me very nervous to even do that. Well, I had walked down the street to another group of neighbors that we play stuff with, and Jimmy and Vic came with Jimmy's car to come pick me up. And I start walking home, and I kept saying, I'm not getting in your car. I'm not going to go anywhere with you. I'm not going to do that. And oh, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. Well, why don't you jump up on top and we'll just drive you? They were just going to go up the street to my house. Hey, I jumped in the car. I grabbed the windshield wipers because he took off almost immediately at like, I don't know, probably 30, 40 miles an hour up my street, and I'm like plastered against the windshield going, stop, stop. And finally, instead of just waiting for him to stop or doing anything like that, I decided it would be better for me to jump off the car, which was not the greatest thing. Luckily, I didn't fall into the concrete. I fell onto somebody's grass, but I tumbled over a bunch of times. I broke my glasses, had scars up and down one side of my face. And of course, once again, I had to tell my mom another story about what was going on because she did understand about the car. She didn't like me going in that car either. So I had to tell her that I fell and when somebody was we were playing football or something, but she had to mend me back up. And I don't think I ever drove back in that car again. I think even Vic, I think, kind of went off at that point of not wanting to ride with Jimmy any longer. But that was an adventure that was not smart at any point of going in the car in the first place, and then jumping off the car into not smart, not smart at all. But that's what driving as a teenager really does to you, I guess. When you're desperate for a place to get somewhere for somebody, you go with anybody, I guess.
And if you won't get in the car, we'll get on the
You get
car.
out of the car, yeah.
Wonder where Jimmy is today.
I actually I heard I think if I remember right, he passed away pretty young. I can't
Mm.
remember what the reason was, but
Car accident.
probably who knows. But anyway,
Hello, this is Gina.
and this is Don with Focused Healthy Family.
This is podcast number 185. And today we're talking about driving my life away.
And that almost
As
drove me and mine away.
as our youngest child now has her license and is currently driving somewhere, and I'm watching her anxiously on the Find My app on my iPhone, which is kind of a clever thing that we can watch our kids and see that they get places safely. Um, and
Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
sure what would happen if it didn't work out though. That's
well,
that
you would be able to locate where their phone is.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, we've been through this is the third one. I remember we got his license what last week and I'm driving home and I went, yes, last one. That last one I had
Oh,
to have
oh,
to take on the driving test and I think you took him on some of it, but most of it was me taking each one of them out doing their driving test, if I remember right.
I took Harrison. I
Did
took
you?
our oldest, yes, because we went like 2 or 3 counties away because we heard it was quick and fast to do your license down in
Oh, the
Polk
driver. Yeah, the driving part. Yeah.
to take. But no, you took Abby, and then you've taken our youngest now.
Well, and Abby took a while because one, she showed up without the right paperwork, and then one time we went and they were closed. I don't remember what the reason was, but it was I think it was at the beginning of COVID, and they were it was opened and closed. It was really tough to figure out times of when they were doing things, but each time we had to, I've taken it all kinds of different places to do their driving.
And thinking about the app, I actually a while ago asked, um, she's texting me. She missed her turn. Um, she's not driving and texting. She pulled over in a parking lot because for some reason, teen drivers in North Carolina, when they have their level two, which is not their full license, they're not supposed to use any kind of phones. And yet, I don't see why having your phone talking you and giving you directions isn't a bad idea. But I've asked my mom to let me track her. Oh, it's been a couple of years ago because if something happened to her, I could see if she has her
Hmm.
phone with her where she was at. And it just can be a real safety thing. You're going somewhere by yourself that um, you can see each other. So thinking back to yes, our kids learning to drive, thinking about when we learned to drive.
Oh my.
Um, I was my kids were complaining about something. Maybe it was the youngest complaining about the beat up old car that she's driving right now. And that, we remember when before there was fuel injection and you had to press the gas and start the car. And we had this Oldsmobile and it would get flooded so easily and I couldn't get it started. And like I was working just down the hill behind our neighborhood at a bakery, and my dad would have to come cussing under his breath. He's just doing it right.
I can, I can hear it. I can hear him doing that too. That's interesting. I mean, I wasn't there for that, but I can still hear him.
I went for driver's lessons. So there was no driver's ed when I was in high school. They had taken it away. But my parents paid for me to have some behind the wheel instruction. But the guy had like a compact car and it had fuel injection and I thought it was so cool because you just turned the key and the car started. And but that's not the car I, had to take the driver's test on. And we got talking about 3-point turns and
I don't remember
somehow
having to do that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
somehow, yeah, I was in an Oldsmobile. I think it was the Cutlass. Was it the car that, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one I took my test in, the same one that would get flooded and not start for me.
we had to do parallel parking is what, and I didn't do well with it. You know, she was complaining about that if she missed one. I don't think that's really true. I think she might have missed part of things, but I think she hit all of it, tell you the truth. But I I did I did 70 on it, but I still passed, and that was, you know,
I failed the first time.
oh, did you?
Um, in Pennsylvania, we there was a driver course. So they didn't even take you on the road to get your test. They took you on this course. And there was a curb entering the course, and I went over the curb entering the course. And it didn't say anything, went through the whole test, and then told me I failed because I went over the curb. And I can still hear the instructor saying, "You're going to run over someone's toes." And I have not yet
Wow.
run over anyone's toes. Almost what, 40 years later, everyone's
Yeah, I
toes are
mean,
intact.
I guess mine was pretty simple because I mean, my mom took me down there on my birthday. We went down there and it didn't take very long, and I had my driver's license. I drove home, you know.
Didn't you have to get a learner's permit first?
I don't think I'm trying to because I remember taking what was interesting was we had driver's ed at the school I went to, Rosary, and the car that we drove in was the same car that we ended up buying. It wasn't the same one, but the exact same thing that we drove in was the same car my dad bought. I don't know if it was before or after that, but it was literally the same color, everything. Um, and
Wait, the car that you drove in?
that I drove through the what do you call it, the class that we took or the whatever it was at school, the
Oh,
driving course.
oh,
It
you
was the
did a
same.
driving
It
course
it
in
was the
school.
same car we had as a family. I'll get it right. Get it right.
Okay.
But yeah, and I remember too because it was um, there's this one hill as we're heading back to the school. We had to go across over kind of this 4-lane highway, and it was a split 4 lane, so it was 2 lanes, and then you had a in between section, and you had the second one. And I don't know if it was the driver coach it was turning yellow as we're getting up to. He says, "Oh, just go through it," which amazes me that any counselor would do that. But and this thing was when you hit it, you kind of lift it up over each bump of the highway, and I lifted the thing up a couple of times. I made that's where my driving, I got it from Jimmy, I think, having to lift the car up, I think something like that. But after Jimmy, I did when I was in school, there was a guy that we had music in our music classes. We would go out, we would take like a couple of days and go out to different schools and play at different schools. And he would always pair us up with other um, people in the class. And he put me in this one class, and this guy was kind of crazy about how he's driving. And I drove like two different places with him, and I just pulled my music teacher across. I said I can't drive with him like that. I think it was because of what happened with Jimmy. I couldn't be in that car again with him. I don't know why I brought that up, but
Stories of driving. So many of us are eager. I wasn't super eager to get my license. I was very anxious about being in that heavy machinery that can easily kill people.
well, I remember taking Harrison to the school that was off of Blair Road. Remember that? Well, I think you worked back in that section back there. That one of the nursing places that you worked was back off of Blair Road.
Oh, by the high school.
Yeah, and that we did our driving around in that parking lot, learning things. They were all really pretty good with driving. I mean, Abby's the one that was a little bit scary about it, some of the stuff she
I
did, but
wasn't there when Harrison was learning to drive. You must be remembering Abby.
was it? Maybe it was. That could be. That's true. Well, I'm trying to think. Was it there? That high school was, you sure it wasn't there back?
I don't know.
Anyway.
So here we are talking about driving, stories of learning to drive. Our child is safely at her destination. And, thinking about getting your license, having a car to drive, having that freedom. Um, and as we talk about, when we reach that age where it's no longer safe to drive, and some seniors realize maybe it's their eyesight. There's so many um, difficulties with aging eyes. Normal aging, you can have a reduction in your peripheral vision. So that's how far out you can see to the side where it can narrow. And if you take some kind of blinders, and realize that if you can't see completely 90 degrees to either side, how big a factor that is in driving. If you have macular degeneration, you're losing your central vision. That's another thing often seen with aging. Um, Glaucoma. There's a history of that in my family. With glaucoma, you lose peripheral vision, and not only vision, but our reaction time. There's so many components of driving that we don't even think about. We've got to be quick to think and act. And if we're compromised in any way, it puts us at risk, it puts others at risk. And yet there's the freedom and the independence of being able to get in a car and go, and then not having that.
Yeah. Well, it was like at the at while I was waiting for Lexi with her driving when she was out driving, one gentleman walked into the driver's place and he could barely walk. He couldn't hear very well. And I just kind of, I didn't, I don't know what he was exactly there for, but I wonder, if they're going to give him the ability to drive. It just, because, you talk about it, the other things is like legs and an ability to be able to move your legs, be able to, if what kind of gait you might have, things like that, that can cause some issues too.
Yeah, they studies show balance deficits are indicative of difficulty with driving. Um, yeah, if you get assessed at a driver's assessment center, this would be by an occupational therapist. So this is not just your vision test, the signs, those basic things. No, this is a lot more. It's your reaction time. It's all these different components or visual perception. If there's a sign through the trees and it's obscured or partially obscured, can I identify what that sign is? So there's areas of our brain that do that process that information, that put those pieces together. And if those areas of our brain are compromised, then it limits our abilities. Um, So, yeah, I remember reading a study years ago about, young drivers. What happens to car insurance when you add a teen driver on your on your
Mm.
insurance? It goes up crazy. And there's studies that show higher rates of accidents, right? Driving takes a lot of experience. The more experienced we are, then the better drivers we become typically, as long as you're not learning to drive the Jimmy way. And yet, as we get older, there can be challenges that compromise our ability to driving. And the study actually showed there were more accidents from people over the age, I can't remember if it was 65 or 70, than even teen drivers, because every state is different. But I know where we are in North Carolina, there is no requirements. Someone could have a stroke, someone could have um, a brain injury, all kinds of things, and there's no requirement other than, I think, if someone has a seizure, there's no other requirements for that to be reported. And so these people, you know, we get issued our driver's license. I don't know if this happens at what age, but for 8 years, um, a lot can happen in 8 years. And are we still able to function? Um, I'm getting messages from our daughter. Talk about driving, Don.
Which is this from Lexi?
Yeah, I said, just keep talking.
Oh, well,
Carry on the
okay.
conversation.
I was there was something I was thinking about when you're talking, and I forgot when you stopped there. But it just being able to. I think it would be to me it would be wise if they would test us even when we get to be like 65 or 70, to let us go on a same kind of maybe a little different in style type of driving method where we get tested on some of these things too, so that if we're not doing it right. Because what happens, oh, this is what I was thinking is, what happens as you drive, you start taking, um, what would you call it? Cutting corners, maybe let's call it that way, where you do things differently than what the way they kind of teach you because you've been driving so long, and you get this mindset in yourself that, you know, well, your dad, I think your dad has said it, I've been driving longer than that kind of thing. And you get that kind of mindset that can really hamper what you're doing and what you're thinking about it.
Do you remember taking Harrison to the brakes course? So in North Carolina, and I don't know what other states this might be in, but let's say it was a race car driver lost a child to an accident.
Yeah, I
And
think
so
something
they
like that.
created this course to learn defensive driving techniques. And I remember you did it, Don, and you actually got to do um,
Did I
some.
actually? I don't remember if I got in or not.
I remember you telling us you did.
I did
Um,
because it was very. I do. Everybody talked about. Well, they take you through a lot of stuff, and I think it is really good because I mean they actually had them go out on a flat like parking lot, and it was wetted down, and they had to take. They had to deal with swerving and doing circles and stuff in these things to be able to handle it and driving off the side of a road and things like that. But I remember because you have like, I think either like three people in the car, if I remember right, one driving and two in the back. And I remember Harrison saying that he got dizzy at certain points because they would spin around so much, different spins and different things. But I'm just trying to remember. I guess I did drive in one. I don't remember it, to be honest with. But I just remember
think they gave
watching
the
it.
parents, because you had to attend with the parent, I think they gave the parents some options. So it stands for breaks, be responsible and keep everyone safe. So that's capital BRAKES. And it's a program, and I don't know if it's outside of North Carolina or not, but you register for it. The awesome thing about it is, yeah, this goes on, oh, in Tennessee. Okay. Arizona, Raleigh, um, California, Florida, Concord, Houston, Texas, Duncan, South Carolina, another one in Raleigh, Fort Worth, Texas, Lebanon, Texas. Um, so there's a number of different locations across the country, it looks like, but you pay an amount, and then if you come to class, you can get your money back or you can donate it because this is um,
It's a nonprofit, if I
it's a
remember right.
nonprofit organization that they created to help kids learn defensive driving techniques. And Harrison was talking about it the other night that, you have to drive on a wet, slippery road, and you have to, hydroplane and learn to turn into the skid, and just all these different things that you talk about, but usually you don't have that opportunity to have to do it. And so they provide the cars for it and the
Hmm.
safe environment for it, um, to be able to learn these skills.
I think if I remember right, they do it. It was part of a racing a team's part of their property or something like that. They did this on. Um, the thing that
Yeah.
kind of I don't know if I'd say worries me now, but the way cars are, a lot of them are getting to be a point of self-driving and all that, that it tends to take a little bit of our um, our own skill out of it, or tries to, by I like driving in Abby's car, you lane change a lane and it tries to hold you back from wanting to do that unless you turn the blinker on. Um, and I think some of these things are really nice, but I really worry about other people just kind of letting themselves go when they do it, letting their
Well,
skills go. And
and and multitasking, right? Oh, the car's going to handle this. I can be
yeah,
looking at my phone. I can be doing other things. I don't need to pay attention. I know when I drove, our son got has had a Subaru. I think he's on his third one already. And the newer model he got last time, it's got the assisted feature when you're on the highway that kind of
mhm,
helps steer. And for a long trip, it was really kind of nice because, it can be very tense, like hanging onto the steering wheel, making sure you're staying in the lane, but it's got monitors and sensors and things that it kind of helps stay in the lane. So I found it less stressful
mhm,
having that added feature, but it also beeps at you if you don't have your hands on the wheel. Um,
yeah.
we just watched the new Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson, and they did this whole theme of the movie was around this electric car, and it's kind of it's over the top humor, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. Um, I don't even know how to describe it, but
Well, one
yeah,
part
so it
he falls asleep in it and runs up off of a curve, and then he wakes up in the middle and goes, "What are you people in the street for?" And he's on the sidewalk, but
Yeah, well, it's a self-driving, so yeah, but it goes off on the side. It's it's the irony, it's the ridiculousness of things that we have in our society that are supposed to make things safer, and yet we've all heard different stories of things malfunctioning, things not working properly. Um, and so yeah, we do need to know the skills of driving. We do need to have that ability. Um, and practice, right? Here in North Carolina, students, if you want to get your license before 18, you have to do driver's education and then you have to get 60 hours of driving and you have to have these logged on a piece of paper. With our oldest, I had to handwrite each time we drove and I literally had to sign every single line. I remember having to do that and how ridiculous you couldn't just sign your name and put an arrow. With our youngest, there's a great app out there that kept track of it, and then she printed it off, and she laughed at me because I was signing every page of the she's like, "What are you doing that for?" I'm like, "Just trust me. I want to make sure it's all taken care of." Um, so, it's that practice, it's that learning how, and I know things were different when we were kids, that those things weren't required. I remember kids, you'd had to get a permit when I was in high school in the 80s in Pennsylvania, but you didn't have to have it for any period of time. So kids have been practicing, they'd get their permit and then they'd go the next day and get their license. So I'm not sure how it was in the 70s in St.
yeah,
Louis, but
I'm trying to remember. I don't seem to remember a permit. I might be wrong, but I just remember mom. Yeah, I don't think we did because I can remember mom going, "Well, it's your birthday. Let's go down and get your license." There was no. We just we drove down there. I didn't think I gave much information. I just said I'm ready to take my driver's lesson and
mm.
got it. So, but well, I guess what I was thinking is, what when we're on the other end of it, when we're on the senior side of it, you know, how do maybe we could go a little bit over how you might be able to take the keys away in a way, or how you can go about that place.
Oh, so I've got my friend told me the story recently when she was concerned about her father's driving. At the time, she had a child who had just gotten his license. And she would just talk to her father about, we just can't afford a car for him. Wish, he could have a car. It'd be great if he could have a car to drive. And just kind of kept gently hinting at this. And eventually the dad offered his car to his grandson. So finding a way that they can be useful, you know, and she knew she had to let it be her dad's idea. Like she couldn't just say, Dad, how about you don't need to drive
Yeah.
anymore. Give your car to your grandson. No. Um, it's just kind of allowing that opportunity because it can feel good, for them to pass a car on to a grandchild. Um, to have a conversation about it, and ideally having the conversation before there's any issues, and it's great, if you've got young, healthy parents, whether they're in their 60s, 70s, sitting down and saying, if we see concerns about your driving, how do you want me to deal with that, mom or dad? How do you see that unfolding in your future? Because there's lots of people out there who will willingly say, I don't think I'm safe to drive anymore. Unfortunately, for some people, it's a necessity. They might not have other people who can provide transportation for them or have
Hmm.
services in their community to get public transport. Um, and so they need that car. They rely on it to get out to the grocery store, to go to the doctor's appointments. Luckily, you can have food delivered now. I'm sure there are areas of the country where that's not possible, but um, you can have deliveries made. You can have medications delivered. You can have a lot of different things brought to your home to make that easier. But thinking about that's the situation and what can we do to support our loved ones and their safety, in driving, keeping up to date with their eye exams, making sure they don't have any signs of any different eye diseases, keeping on top of things. If you see concerns about their memory or anything like that, go to a neurologist. You know, take your parent, have an appointment. Find a way to support them in this care because there can be things going on that they don't realize. Um,
Well, might it be one thought is if you can talk to them beforehand, like you talked about, if you can get it when they're still competent, and then talk about this is just a thought anyway, but come up with some possible signs that things are could be deteriorating that they could see themselves. If I don't know, I'm trying to think of, whether um, they can't see certain signs, maybe, or in other words, you set this up beforehand. You talk to them about what would be the things that if you saw them, you would know that it probably isn't time to drive. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, kind of letting them set the parameters.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of having a conversation like that. And, a lot of people find themselves in a situation where they're very worried. Their parent is not safe driving and they don't know what to do. Maybe they've told them they're not safe, and so the parent is going to fight it tooth and nail, kind of like a young child might if you tell them no. um, we went through this with my dad. I know we've told this story so many times, but he had Parkinson's, he had dementia, he had neuropathy, his feet. He had spinal issues and, didn't have really good control all the time over his legs, which is a big safety hazard, even without dementia and other things. He had double vision. He had very severely limited peripheral vision. There were a lot of things going on. And yet he thought he was a great driver. He'd been driving longer than most of us.
And
And
let us know that too.
didn't understand why he didn't pass this exam and was very mad because he's like, I didn't get to study for that test first. And why do they ask me the day of the week? And, how am I supposed to know that? And his frustration with it. And I know with him, we talked about alternatives. Okay, if the test says you're not safe to drive anymore, what alternatives are there? You have places you want to go. What do you want to be able to do? Can we hire a
Hmm.
driver? Can we, um, think about driving Miss Daisy. How is there another family member, a niece, a nephew, a grandson who can provide that transportation for you? Um, a neighbor, another friend, thinking about what it is they want to do. And a lot of people, it's just don't take my keys away. It's that
Yeah.
freedom of having it. And so really thinking about that, it's important for us to realize this and not just it's easy to get into a power battle over it and
Hmm.
just take keys away. Um, and then I've seen people like give the keys back and
Yeah.
it sends
Yeah.
quite a confusing message. when navigating this and finding other ways we can be independent, right? Like with our kids, we drop them off at places, we, allow them go places with friends. How else do they gain independence before they're have their own license and a vehicle to drive? So thinking in reverse a little bit, and also remembering that our aging loved ones are not children. Even though they might have cognitive issues, that developmentally they often look to be functioning at a stage of someone younger than, um, they're not a child, and have to keep that in mind. Um, just that element of respect. I see this all the time, and people can be really rude to their loved ones, and just thinking about the way in which you're saying things to people, it makes a big difference in their response.
Well, think about my dad. He didn't have any problems till like the very last little bit of his life, but I remember one time being in him, and we came up to a red light. He stopped and he went through it, and like, Dad, did you know that light was? Oh, I no, I didn't. He kind of lost track of it. I'm not sure if that was the turning point for him. I don't remember.
Wait, the turning point? Your
Well,
father,
what's that?
you're talking about your father
My father, yeah,
who died at the age of
56,
6?
I think it was.
Okay. Okay.
Well, because he the last 2 years of his life he was not feel he was in and out of the hospital. He was in with doctors. He was just not feeling good, but he was still doing all the things he need. He really wanted to get back to work, and they had stopped him from working. And so his whole goal was to get himself back to a place where he could go back to work, and he never did. And I think, like I said, everything was kind of deteriorating for him then. But
At the age of
well, at
56.
that time, probably 50, 54, 55, something like that. He was already,
That's young.
yeah, no, trust me, you know, have a lot of regrets about not, anyway, won't go on down that road, but, yeah, it was very young. And, but he thought he worked his whole life, that's he worked his whole life, 2 and 3 jobs at a time. And I think it just wore him out. So anyway,
Talking about difficult things here, talking about letting go, letting our kids the freedom of driving and monitoring the safety, whether it's our kids or our parents or grandma or an aunt, and helping being supportive and giving information and finding creative ways to help them move away from driving or finding someone that could use their car. I'm glad you've joined us here on Focused Healthy Family Podcast today. Please join us every Thursday when we air one of our podcasts. We have some interviews in the mix here, so be on the lookout. Scan back to our prior topics of interviews we've done with people.
you can always join us on our website. You can find out more about what Gina and I do in helping people out in this journey that they go through with their aging parent or loved one. You can join me every Tuesday, 7 o'clock. I have a group tapping session. It's free, and it's 7 p.m. every Tuesday. And you can join us by just going to focushealthyfamily.com/EFT-group. Um, you can find out about other things that we have going on. You can also find us on Facebook, Focus Healthy Family, at Instagram, Focus Healthy Family 1, and of course, YouTube at Focus Healthy Family. You can join us every Thursday and see um, our live podcast where you can actually see us, not just hear us, but and um, remember, how you speak to your children and your family today shapes their future and yours.